Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip drinking his coffee. Today we are going to get into some great things. We're just checking out the DeFi space, which is still pretty amazing, pretty unbelievable. Ripple XRP, some new partnerships, a partnership with Lotus. What is going on? Is XRP still a digital asset above all the rest? And can we survive the bear market? We've got Ripple, we have XRPL, we got Flare, and there's so many other projects that are developing and building. Man, this is an exciting time, Chip, even though, the pricing is going down.
Just like I said, aisle 3. What did DNI say about that? There's a sale. Everywhere there's a sale, and people are freaking out. When it's going up, people want to jump in. But you guys ready to get this started?
Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Yeah, Jeff, to your point there, let's look at this. I'm still amazed by the whole DeFi market. This is crazy. But if you look at this, go to DeFi Llama here, you can see that there's $71 billion total value locked. That's obviously in USD denomination value. But you just look at, and you can see the change overall is 3.5%. But if you look at all the projects total together, MakerDAO is still the dominant one with 11% of the entire marketplace. But if you look at by how much total value here, especially if let's go over to the yields here, you can see that Project Lido with ETH is at almost $4 billion of locked value, followed by USDC and the project Aave. And then you get in the curve, and it goes all the way down to some of the other projects, but it's still incredible. And then you could also look at, let's say, like if you go to Avalanche here, you can see, Trader Joe being one of the top dogs right there, and Polygon is pretty obvious, almost exact, and then you have Solana and some of the other ones. I like this one here, Jeff, the Optimism. How's Optimism doing? There's a lot of red under Optimism.
How does the Optimism look in the space today, Chip?
The Optimism, that's a whole different. It's a whole different scenario. I mean,
I've never seen that stat. What is the Optimism?
Well,
What's the Optimism stat?
Well, the Optimism is actually, I believe it's a chain. Put that back up there. Yeah, it's like these are all the different chains. You got Osmosis, Solana, Binance, Avalanche, Ethereum, Solana. But Optimism is actually a DeFi, a chain here, and you can see all the wrapped stuff here, all over, basically Uniswap, Seabridge. But you can see, but I just thought it was
really
funny.
Amazing. The whole notion of wrapped assets, and to see how, within this DeFi space, man, it looks like there's a ton of money there. It looks like people aren't, even though there's a lot of red, it still looks like people aren't running the other way. We got a lot of long-term bag holders with diamond hands out there. The weak hands are falling out all over the place.
They are, because people always, look, human nature is human nature, and people hit the panic button. And again, there's a lot of buying opportunities, but if you've been around as long as a lot of us have been, a lot of us, that are watching right now or listening right now, if it's on the podcast, one of the things we know, Jeff, is that it's cyclical, right? It goes up and it comes down and it goes back up. But people automatically, their go-to is like, oh no, I better get out because why? Because look what happened with some other projects out there. I mean, we had some recent bad news with projects going from high of 119, and you go all the way down to 0.0000. So that doesn't bode well for confidence in the marketplace. And then you had what happened over at Celsius, where they had to freeze all the withdrawals to attempt to save the project, to basically make everybody whole. So we'll have to see what
thing. I'm glad you brought that up, Chip, because it seems like there's a liquidity issue, mainly because of the drop in price point. But I wanted to ask you about that. I'm going to pull up another article too. But your thoughts. So MicroStrategy, there seems to be a lot of FUD in this space, right? And and if there's a ton of FUD, what are they what does the FUD emphasize? What does the mass media emphasize? And now what are the politicians emphasizing? They're going to go after the bad. They don't go after the good necessarily when it comes, so now that's what we're starting to see, right? We start seeing the media love negativity. So they're going to focus on that. The FUDsters who have always been are going to come in and, glorify the drop and, they're going to dance around in it. But here we've got over in Hong Kong, Babel Finance. Let me throw this up and then get your comparison to this. So Babel Finance suspends withdrawals, citing unusual liquidity pressures. Babel Finance responded to a market downturn by temporarily freezing withdrawals and redemptions. Now, this is in Hong Kong. So here, Hong Kong-based crypto lender Babel Finance suspended withdrawals, redemptions, facing unusual liquidity pressures. Let's see. Alluding to major fluctuations in the market and conductive risk events among institutional market participants. Here we have Babel raised $80 million in Series B round funding with a valuation of $2 billion. Here we have at the end of 2021, Binance had an outstanding loan balance of over $3 billion, up from $2 billion the previous February, and they're doing about $8 million in monthly derivatives trading volume, and it's structured and traded over 20 billion in options. Now it looks like, with options and derivatives and, the whole lending notion and leveraging assets, in a highly volatile space already seems like high risk. Obviously we saw some stuff go on with Three Arrows Capital as well. But man, what do you think? Can you draw any kind of parallels between what we're seeing with Celsius to Babel and maybe even, beyond this? Are we going to see more of that? What do you think?
Well, I wonder, Jeff, because if we look at the real world, the physical world, the world we've known in banking, looks an awful lot like a bank run. Everybody wants to take their money out. There's almost so much liquidity that the banks have, and it's kind of that same sort of concept that exchanges aren't really necessarily prepared to all of a sudden everybody wants to pull their money out at one time. And this is the problem with numbers being digital to real world, physical, which is converting to whatever fiat currency, which is what has occurred. You want to do a withdrawal, and so the one thing is the withdrawal if you're going to a cold storage wallet, but it's in a weird way, it's unexpected, but it's expected, because when you started to see the downturn of Bitcoin and it dropped under 20,000, and you see that now we have Ethereum under 1,000, it's all-time high of 4,500. That's a massive, you talk about that kind of volatility is just incredible. And, we've seen it with other altcoins as well. You've seen, XLM really never really had that volatility because the price really never rose, but you're starting to see it in other, with XRP, as it continues a downward trajectory as well. So it's just kind of like a bank run type of thing. And I know people freak out because they say, oh, they paused the withdrawals and they've done this. Well, the attempt, in my opinion, is to fix and correct the issue, not to cut and run. Is that your same? Would you agree with that, Jeff? That's something with someone like Celsius, and we've had Alex Mashinsky on the chain before, and just knowing his background, his 6 startups, he had the most successful out of the 10 most successful exits ever of a New York City based company. He's had 2 of the most successful ones. He has a reputation, but he's never come across to me as somebody, he's not a rug pull type of a guy. And so their attempt is to fix the problem, and to solve the problem, not to cut and run. That's immediately where everyone's head goes to, and everybody's been condemning him. But look, I have to applaud it. It's not the best case scenario, but you have to do what you can to attempt your best foot forward to make it right.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And we can hope, hopefully, we see some positivity coming out of the back end and they can fix whatever they're doing. It was a shock to the system, when Celsius froze the assets, but now that we're seeing others that are in the same space do it, I'm sure that in the near future, if there's more liquidity crisis we're potentially going to see Nexo do the same thing, and then others. The question is, are we going to see the same with some of the bigger exchanges? But maybe not. Maybe, a Binance or a Bitrue that's also into providing, higher rates of return on, on their assets in the staking and the farming and all the, what is it, the piggy bank or the piggy, whatever it is on Bitrue.
Yeah.
Are we
Piggy
going to see? I forget what it's called, but anyhow, are we going to see, similar outcomes due to this lack of liquidity, or some, maybe a Celsius or this Babel? Maybe they're leveraged to a different extent too, because they're dealing with a lot of the institutional movers. So if they're already tying up with the institutional movers, now we're talking about big movement, huge sums of money. And man, I'm also wondering if we're starting to see that type of, if that's the kind of pressure, that we're seeing. But here's something interesting, Chip. As we look at, the panic that's taking place in the market. Now, if we think back, how many times there have been a few ups and downs within the market. Look at XRP, so obviously XRP was sitting flat back in 2017. I mean, if you can imagine, you were in at this time, right? You were in at the 0.005, 0.006. Andrew says power piggy. That's right. But then, look at this up here, in 2017, you started to see, here's, goes up to 33 cents. And then you had a pullback in here back to 17 cents. So it loses, 50% of its value. And you're looking like, holy crap, I just lost 50% of my value. Right. And this is as it was leading up. Right. Then obviously we see, this big jump over here. People are, we haven't seen the all-time highs with the XRP, but look at all these ups and downs in the marketplace. Overall, look at it recaptured, 46 cents and then drops down to 19 cents. And that, so there's been a ton of turmoil, 60 cents back down to 22 cents. Then we're up here back in April of last year, $1.57 drops down to 58 cents. Then we're back up. So look at that roller coaster. And it's not unique because, we've seen, some similar things with Ethereum back in that 2018, all-time high at that point at $1.31. And now it's in, then it starts dropping. Look at this. So we're up, what was it? Not $1.31. Sorry. It was 1,300. 1,300, then it drops down to $132, even lower. Right. But so this is the roller coaster, I mean, right. But if you look at traditional stock, and while we're talking, we'll pull up some traditional stock, and I guarantee you're going to see a similar type of roller coaster with some stocks as well.
Absolutely.
We've seen it with Twitter, we've seen it with Facebook, we've seen it with Microsoft, we've seen it with a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the market. I mean, look at the conditions around the world too. You've got stagflation, you've got inflation, where you've got supply chain issues that go all the way back for the past 2 years. So there's a lot of things that are different about where we are in 2022 midway through the year versus going back into other periods. But there's a lot of market conditions that are also causing this as well. But we all know how the story ends. At some point, it writes itself, and the people that get in now and see buying opportunities. And I'm not necessarily, this isn't advice. It's just it's a way of looking at it. Yeah, it's an opinion, and I'm not saying anything when you go into it and look at it. But there you go. But Jeff, we got a lot to get to, man. Let's
yeah, we do. Let's go.
I wanted to say this. Tim Mannion, he said, "Hey Jeff and Chip, hope everyone's well, hoping and holding up." Tim Fro Bishop, Auckland, UK. And I wanted to pull this up. Alchemist had this to say: "He who panics first profits most. This is the way the clown market, hot garbage space." So, there you go. And then also Craig Froze from Australia as well. Big shout out there. Alchemist says, "John Deaton is my hero." And I can second that. I mean, John Deaton, what a incredible story this is. And, they never anticipated John Deaton and 67,000 XRP holders. And that is going to be a giant thorn. It has been in the SEC side because their narrative is collapsing left and right. All they can do is delay, and it's not going to end well for them. I mean, we've been predicting this from the get-go, and If you ever see Brad Garlinghouse, when I met Brad, I've never seen a more happy person in my life. Even had a nice chance to talk with them for 10, 15 minutes. I've never seen anybody more optimistic and excited about the world. And this is just a bump in the road. She's Burla said that right before he, joined the board and kind of took a step back. It's a bump in the road, Jeff. And everything else is just, but I mean, so let's frame it the way it looks, because look at some of what's going on here. Let's throw this up there. We have this Ripple partners with Lotus cars to bring automotive NFTs to the XRP ledger. Your thoughts on this? It's pretty exciting on its, right? I mean, Lotus is a brand. Obviously, it's been around for a long time. This is the official press release on their website here, and they have a little animation here that they have here. Lotus, NFT Pro, and Ripple. So that's pretty exciting. So obviously, Lotus is an iconic British performance car brand. They announced their plans to launch into the world of NFTs. And the NFT assets are, which exists exclusively in the digital world, are bought and sold online. Frequently cryptocurrency, because they're coded with the same software, the so-called blockchain. They have to explain it to people. So they have to explain exactly what's going on there. You can throw that up there. Toss it up there. Take a look at the...
I just wanted to put a nice graphic.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, put that up there. The partnership between Lotus and NFT Pro marks the brand's debut in the Web3 space. Creating a community of exciting new opportunities for Lotus customers, collectors, and crypto fans. Yeah, they've always had really solid looking vehicles.
You don't see a lot of them out
Not
on
down
the
here
road.
in South Florida, you don't know. Well, it's not
every
really...
so often they pop up, but it's not, I don't know. It's strange how it hasn't really taken, you don't see a lot of them in the US.
And so you're like, well, what is Ripple going to be doing? They're going to be providing all the tech support that the company needs in order to make its NFT collection launch a success. So you got someone high powered like Ripple behind you, making sure that you can't make a misstep. And yeah, there you go. Bam. Lotus Cars and NFT Pro announced partnership. There it is right there. And yeah, so there's one of their cars there. And it's interesting that you start seeing these big iconic brands getting into the space. NFT industry has been greatly affected by the bearish trend of the overall crypto market, with the prices of NFTs mirroring the price of crypto, which have declined significantly in recent weeks. But again, that's always a temporary thing too. Then NFT Pro was chosen by Lotus to help it make its seamless entry in the world of Web3. Christian Ferry, the CEO of NFT Pro, said it's a privilege to partner with the iconic British automotive brand to help them connect with a new generation of fans. And think about that. People that aren't buying the cars may be into the NFTs as a collectible. So you're kind of opening it up to a whole different new audience, which I think is super exciting, man.
Well, what do you think their deal is with the coming in with the NFT with Lotus, and how is this all how do you think it's really gonna benefit? Like what do you, if you were to look at it from not just with Lotus, but like the bigger picture, you say, hey, Ripple's getting into the space, they want to help them in some way. What is the bigger picture?
You mean for the NFT space or Lotus as a whole?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying in general. I mean, to have this project is kind of like the impetus to something bigger and better, so Ripple's getting in with a nice brand, and they're going to launch this NFT phase for them. There's got to be something. They must have a bigger concept of, hey, let's, they're going to test market it with Lotus, and then maybe the NFT within the automotive space becomes something more significant, especially if it's a collectible type vehicle, or maybe there's more opportunity here.
Well, I do know that David Schwartz is heading to New York next week. This upcoming week, I'll throw this up here. And if you think about this, here, I'll throw this up. I think this is where it's all kind of headed. They're going to NFTNYC, which is next week, which I wanted to really go to, but I'm not going to make it up there. And the lounge is going to be from the Ripple Lounge from 21st to 22nd. Happy hour is June 21st, June 22nd with live music, including a surprise musical guest. Thanks to their sponsor, Cross Tower under X. And there it is right there. There's the RippleHouse, New York. So there you go. And so it's exciting to see that they're starting to get involved with this whole NFT thing is sort of taken off. I wonder if something else here too. I want to get in this one. Yeah, this is another story I want to get into. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. And if this right here is pretty much the next one, which let me pull this up. But this other partnership, and this is RippleX put this tweet out, Jeff. So you want to grab that?
We go there. Yeah, here's an interesting point. Kermit saying Ripple with NFTs is to show what is possible with tokenization by taking baby steps to encourage rather than force adoption. Think about that. The meaning behind that.
No, I like that.
So a lot behind that.
There's a lot going on there. Yeah. So RippleX put this out, partnering with FlufWorld to bring the open metaverse. Think about that, Jeff. We've heard a lot about the metaverse, and everybody has, we have interoperability between projects. We have some other news coming up that we're going to get an official launch. Looks like July 4th for Flare, but there's a lot of this interoperability that's coming on board. And one place that it's really missing is the metaverse. So bringing the open metaverse to life, enabling metaverse projects to mint NFTs, buy and sell, trade, and network tokens on the Root network, which will be built on the XRPL with XRP as a native asset. So this is pretty exciting too. And then, Monica Long put this out, new PFP, who dis? She always puts that, who dis? Inspired by the FlufWorld team's vision for the open metaverse to enable a seamless user experience across worlds, empower users to use their own content, identity, data, avatar, and intelligence, well aligned with Ripple's vision for the Internet of Value. And she put a little thread on this. XRPL.
I'm sorry, I can't get over her opening there.
Who dis?
Yeah,
who dis?
I think that kind of detracted from everything else that she had to say after that.
Yeah, it's a little slang, Jeff. It's also slang, but at least they're having a little bit of fun with it, because sometimes they feel a little bit too corporate at times. XRPL will support the open metaverse's Root network for efficient liquidity and settlement of tokenized assets at scale, and XRP as the native asset for transactions to keep gas fees super low. So that's an interesting concept there. What are your thoughts on that? Like, really kind of avoiding those heavy gas fees.
Yeah. And that, that I think that's one of the biggest issues that we're seeing in the metaverse space in general, in the NFT space in general, because it starts out with ERC20, and obviously we know what those gas fees are like. We know what it's like trying to get, Ethereum or any of the ERC20s, trying to move them, and trying to buy an NFT. It's amazing, the overall cost, that gas cost. So if this is going to actually be a benefit to the overall growth in the space, and to try to, again, utilize the native technology that is inherent within the XRPL to be able to scale utilizing XRP. And what is the technology that they're using instead of the ERC20? What is it for the XRP? What is it? The designated.
Oh, you're talking.
I forget what it is.
Oh, if you mean for the NFTs.
Yeah, if they're building on it, it is.
Someone will throw in the chat.
Someone will throw it out there. Yeah, it was an X or something. I forget what it is exactly, but that's going to be interesting. I like it. I really do like this, and I think there's really so much more. And as Mentalik is talking about here, tokenization is going to be a multi-quadrillion-dollar market. We haven't even seen the beginning of it yet. They're just experimenting with JPEGs. We're starting to see and that's why I think with that, the whole thing with Ripple and Lotus is much, much bigger than, hey, let's just make a cool NFT of one of your cars. The tokenization, the authentication, as we start seeing the trading of NFTs, that will also then, move whatever product that NFT is connected to, whether it's real estate or automotive, or, I think there's so much more within this, within the architecture of this technology. it's going to be amazing. And, Hodl is saying here, thanks to next generation software architecture, what is that? The Tonel offers a full set of technological innovations. It's the first car ever to adopt an NFT blockchain certification. So there you go. So whether it's going to be amazing. And there we go. We should have known the XLS 20.
XLS20, there it is. Yeah, it's like I can't keep them all. So, thank you for that, Travis. I was like,
I don't know. I couldn't keep that in my brain.
I knew it was a 20, but I was like, what's 20? What's these letters? It's getting all kind of crazy.
I just remember the X part.
Yeah. XLS20, that's right. And that still has to be adopted. It still has to be voted for.
That'll be amazing because and that XLS20 is going to be instrumental in this open metaverse, the root network, all the, this whole concept. Man, I even think the metaverse is going to be way beyond, what it's being utilized for right now. It's not just for a gaming platform. I think there's going to be a lot more, benefit within the trading platforms. In terms of trading goods, real-time goods.
Exactly.
There's just a lot more involved in there.
Yeah, and finally, she ends the thread with free and open to all metaverse developers. The root network will also support EVM. That's the Ethereum virtual machine smart contracts, bringing the power of the XRPL and EVM together for the first time. And so that right there, too, it's like we're now starting to get, there's only one place, Jeff. It was really Ethereum where you could do these smart contracts. Now, I think a lot of the market share is going to be given up, and they could bleed market share. Are they going away? I don't think they're ever going away. There's always going to be but again, first generation isn't always the best. It doesn't, because you are the first, you have the first mover advantage, but you don't necessarily have the best technology. And we all know that Ethereum was rushed out there. We have confirmation of that. We have plenty of sound bites where they said they just needed to get it out there. They knew they could fix it later. And 6 years later, it still isn't fixed. So there you go. I mean, we're inching ever closer, but we're still not 100% there.
Well, here, there's an issue, so imagine, the entire space has really been built on the ERC20s. And I say the entire space because the majority of those quote unquote altcoins, all altcoins have been built utilizing ERC20. So that's one reason why the entire Ethereum project isn't going anywhere. Is there going to be a migration? I think the migration to, let's say, the XLS20s, the migration to the XRPL, the migration, changing to limit the gas fees, and build out and be able to move efficiently. I think that competition is going to force Ethereum to make bigger moves to change the way their network is, and it's going to make them speed it up. And they probably will once. So far, what's amazing to me, Chip, is that nobody has been able to roll out a competitive product to Ethereum to date. We see it's coming, but no one has done it yet. And the whole concept of the smart contract is really critical. And we're starting to see the beginnings of it. But Chip, the other thing is we also saw that, we've seen with Polygon, there's also others that are utilizing the Ethereum network but they're fixing it on their own, and they're coming up with solutions to utilize it as a base, but to help streamline it. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And that's why I believe that Ethereum's not going anywhere. So whether the Ethereum Foundation was corrupted or individuals within it, the technology is out there, and the technology won't go anywhere. Similar to Bitcoin, similar to the XRPL, it's not going anywhere. Here's one other thought. I want to get your feedback on this also. The fact that we're starting to see the politicians, Chip, gravitate and talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum, does that become more problematic?
Well, I think the argument they have, you brought it up earlier. I think you nailed it earlier, Jeff, when you talked about the fact that they always go after the bad. So let's focus on the one little tiny thing that's like, well, what about this? And like, especially with Bitcoin, the energy consumption. And we've done stories where there's excess power that they don't know what to do with. So they're giving it over to Bitcoin miners because everyone believes that there's finite amount of power. And it's like, well, depending on if you look at people, how many electric cars you have out there where you're going to power them up? How are they powered? Nuclear power in the States, mostly coal. So coal creates the electricity that ends up in your car. So this I think all of it's connected. So they're going to go after whatever fits and suits their narrative to advance their agenda. And so that looks like exactly what you said it looks like. It looks like, let's go after Bitcoin. What about Ethereum? We got to protect people. But they're not so worried about protecting people that fly out to Vegas and bet it all on one, and they blow their, they lose their house, their car, their wife, their husband, their kids, everything. That's cool. They're not going to protect those investors because, well, nobody really cares about them. But they always make it out. It's always under this guise of protection. We're going to help you.
Right.
And when the government comes in to help you, that comes back to Reagan's the 7 most terrifying words, right? I mean, so that's where the red flag goes up. I always wonder about help from any government official when they seize a problem and they're going to come in, they're going to save the day. And it's always usually the opposite. So that's my thought, Jeff. I mean, I don't see it going anywhere. I just wanted to let me throw this up really quick just while we finish this topic. But there's FlufWorld right there. And what I love about this wole idea about FlufWorld is the fact that they've got all of these. Look at these NFTs, Jeff. It's like, especially these bears. So these bears there's 9,669 programmatic. I can't say that word. What's going on? Programmatically. So simple. It's not that hard. Generated 3D rigged bears. And if you look at these bears right here, so these are 3D bears. These are cool, right? So these 3D bears, you buy one of these bears,
and then what do you do?
And then you can use it in the metaverse. That's your. So
how expensive are they?
Right now they're 0.75
of what?
ETH.
Holy
this is over
shit.
on OpenSea. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. Well, that's not that much. That's $600 at this point.
Yeah. How many people are going to buy a bear to run around the metaverse for
well, it's an NFT though, but it's an NFT. That's the whole point. Yeah. Look at all
that's a good point. So then you have to make sure that continues going up in value. What if people don't care about the FlufWorld or the bears anymore?
Look at this bear. He doesn't care.
Are a lot of these NFTs like this? I mean, I guess part of it's the fun of it. You buy it. It's cool to be part of the community and everything. But what if that community does go away and it doesn't have that kind of $600 value? People are just, that's the big concern. Yeah, I guess it's like any other asset. But
look at FlufWorld. This is the original ones right here. But look at they're trading at, 3 ETH. Which is basically 3,000, which would have been 12 grand just not too long ago.
Yeah, maybe we should buy some of those.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. They all these like really cool, interesting backgrounds. But again, these are for FlufWorld. I think it's actually pretty interesting there. For sure.
Austin is saying X Spectre is an awesome upcoming metaverse project on the XRP.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we should get those guys on here. We should definitely get them on the chain. Talk to them.
We need to do that. That'd be sweet. We need to talk to them.
Yeah, we'd love to. We'd love to have them on here. It's a very interesting project, very well funded project. I love the scope of the project, and I've been in some of the spaces with the founders, and I think it's good to see a really strong project come along that has some money behind it.
It's so funny. That's exactly what I was thinking. Looking at all these, a lot of these NFTs, and like Alchemist is saying, Beanie Baby crap. And that's, as I think about NFTs, a lot of times that's what I think about. I'm like, a lot of it's Beanie Baby crap, but then it goes back into certain projects because some of it is going to be that way. And it's tough because, Chip, you and I are working on an NFT series, which we think will be really, really cool. And there's really a lot that goes into it, as you start thinking about what can be cool, what can we roll out. But I always go back to that, and that's my biggest concern with a lot of those that are out there. It becomes just a collectible thing. What more can you do? And that's where that FlufWorld has taken it to the next level, and they're implementing the next level. And the X Spectre, they're taking it to the next level. There has to be a little bit more to it that will then help develop and build out the space, especially if you're going to be doing it with the XRPL. I think that to me is super, super meaningful. To me, the whole ETH is just a run on value. But here's just to update everybody. Introducing the XRP Ledger version 1.9.0. Release includes the XLS 20 amendment and fixes and updates for stability. What are the actions required? This release introduced a new amendment to the XRPL to support NFTs natively on the XRPL per the XLS 20 draft standard. This amendment is now open for voting. So still open for voting. Hasn't passed yet, to the XRPL's amendment process, which enables protocol changes following 2 weeks of 80% support from trusted validators. So I don't know what happens at this point, because this was in April. This was April 7th. I don't see another update to this, and maybe I missed it when I was looking, but it says here, if you operate an XRPL server, then you should upgrade to version 1.9 within 2 weeks to ensure service continuity. The exact time. So change effect depends on the voting decision of the decentralized. Chip, we have to look into that further, but I want to see if there's been a further vote, because this was back in April.
Yeah, I was trying to find some information on that to see where that's at right now, but I don't know. I can't really seem to find anything on it.
Well, this one, so the only other one that I found for 2022 is basically in the same thing, but that was from, so 1.9.1 was introduced, and that was a bug fix, right? Allowing signing by up to 32 signers. They did a bug fix on the NFTs, but then still nothing on the vote. So I don't know. I don't know what happened on that vote. I don't know if they voted. I don't know what happened. Other than it's now, as of May 23rd, it's now to 1.9.1.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that. I don't think, obviously there's not 80% consensus at the moment. So, and I don't know how many of the trusted validators are actually voting, but again, I mean, we all expect it to pass at some point, but I don't know what that's going to look like. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But another good news here, Antony Welfare from Ripple on the future of money, tokenizing the future of innovation with CBDC, stablecoins, and digital assets. And this is it's a long article. We're not getting into the whole part of it, but there was one thing that I really wanted to kind of call some attention to, which is this one line. It just says, like, focusing on tokenizing, what are tokens, what can we do with them? It's just a general sort of interview here, but I wanted to go down to this last paragraph. What do institutions see as the most value in crypto? Could you name some business applications for NFTs? And I think this right here too, like getting back to, you say Beanie Baby, but people have been collecting, if you had a Honus Wagner baseball card right now that was in even a grade B or C condition, you'd be thrilled about it. You would certainly want to refer to as a Beanie Baby. It's just a piece of cardboard with some really poor ink on it. So to me, you want to look at NFTs and collectibles. People collect all kinds of things, vinyl, which I've got a pretty solid collection of vinyl toys, like the that I have. Then they go up in value. You buy it for $100 and it's up to $400 or $500. It's a piece of plastic, Jeff. I mean, it's kind of how it works. But he hits a couple things: real estate, leveraging blockchain for title provenance and real estate based DeFi, low barriers to entry, carbon credits. Provenance, ensuring the authenticity of, tripping up a lot today, products. For example, NFTs can solve fraudulent food products by tracking and tracing food products, artworks, fashions. That's there's a couple projects out there to do that. Some stable coins are boosting the settlement function of cross-border payments. In your view, how are stable coins reimagining the bank's infrastructure? And he kind of goes into this, and what trends are you excited about? Like I said, we can't get into the whole thing, but I wanted to talk about this. This one statement is pretty interesting. Basically says the crypto world is enabling innovation at a scale that we've never seen before. The current lull in the markets is a great time to clear out the trash.
Yep.
And to see the winners starting to appear. Back in the .com boom was when the current winners emerged. Exactly. We are at that same point in time with blockchain technology. Exciting times ahead. And this right here, I think, is probably the one pull quote from this whole interview that I think he's spot on about, Jeff. Your thoughts?
No, I agree. I mean, you think about pets.com, back in the heyday, and that was, there was a
now we have chewy.com. So
now we got Chewy, but
which is what
pets.com. Exactly. That's what it should have been. And that's what it started as, but maybe sometimes the timing didn't line up 100%. But one of the things that we talk about, Chip, you and I, is, projects that have solutions solving actual problems versus projects that have solutions that are in search of problems. And the exact same thing happened back during the .com era, because back in the heyday, if you had a .com, then they put money behind you. They didn't care what your product was. They didn't care if you had a product. Like, holy crap, this guy's got a .com. Here's $1 million. And then they say, hey, where's my return? Oh, sorry. You know, our idea behind the .com didn't really work out, you know, and then,
oops.
and then everything imploded from there. But you're right. You know, it's not just, you know, we talk about, you know, with all the FUD and everything that's happening right now in this market, shaking out weak hands. It operates a little bit different when it's working with the projects, because it's also shaking out weak projects. You know, so hopefully, you know, like we were talking about in the beginning, some of these trading platforms or, you know, lending platforms, hopefully they're substantial. Hopefully, you know, we don't see rug pulls, you know, like we did with like a BitConnect or some of the others. You know, so hopefully they're on 100% on the up and up, and they continue to move forward. But we're going to start seeing a lot of these projects out there that are empty, that don't have actual solutions to problems. There is no problem. They're going to go away. You know, there's no way they can continue to exist, because they don't have the valuation. They're not generating the revenue, and they'll never be able to generate the revenue. The only thing that'll prop them up is going to be potentially any type of value they have in their digital asset. And then that becomes a security, because then if it all falls back on the digital asset, you know, propping up the company, and that you're, you know, expecting people to buy the digital asset to support the, you know, the valuation of your company, then that's obviously then proves the case of the SEC. That, but there, you know, there's going to be some out there, but they're going to go away. They're going to disappear. One last thing on this one, Ripple validators vote in favor of the XL720. And now I do remember that. That was actually a month ago. So, you know, too much information packed
so
in our
much,
brains,
Jeff.
Chip. You know, I can't stay on top of every little thing. And then when I looked it up on the XRPL, it wasn't there, but I went to the dev site, and yes, so Ripple validators vote in favor today. And that was May 23rd of last month. So Ripple's upgrading its servers, and that was version 1.9.1 that we just talked about a few minutes ago. So the reference implementation of the XRPL protocol and configuring its validators to vote in favor of activating the XLS20 amendment on the XRPL mainnet. So that's a huge deal. Here's something else, Chip, that I think is really important that we're looking at, is this part here. XLS also includes advanced features like automatic royalties, co-ownership of assets, and more without the need for smart contracts. Chip, the XRPL, as we've always mentioned, is probably the most powerful technology within the digital asset blockchain
Really
space. And one of the reasons is because of that, the decentralized, you know, the vote from the validators, being able to help improve the technology on a consistent basis. So if you go all the way back to 2014, when they really started to churn and burn and develop, you know, it's really impressive as you look and you see all the big advancements. So Chip, I think we're at the right place at the right time.
Yep.
You just got to hang in there.
Hang in there. Yeah, hang in there. And, you know, I wanted to say a couple more things about the experts, Jeff. We got to be careful about who the so-called experts are, because, you know, and that includes us. We're not experts, you know. So you'll hear a lot of opinions about the crypto space, see a lot of talking heads on the newscasts and TV and in articles, and they're the you know, and at the end of the day, just like Steve Jobs said, they're no smarter than you. They're no better than you. I don't care what university they went to, but they're no better or smarter than you. And look at this right here. And this
He
right
dropped
here.
out.
What's that?
He dropped out.
Who dropped out?
Didn't he? Steve Jobs. Didn't he drop out? Or was that
He did
just
drop
Bill
out.
Gates?
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, you say dropped out. Yeah, he dropped out from college. Yeah, he left university.
Yeah. Didn't Zuckerberg drop out too?
I think a bunch of them did. It's like this whole notion of you got to click the boxes and do this and do that, you know. But look at this right here. So, oh, that's the wrong story. Here we go. Right, where the heck is it? There it is. So this is SpaceX. This is Falcon 9's first stage landed on the shortfall of Gravitas drone ship, marking SpaceX's 13th flight of a first stage booster, 100th successful mission with a flight-proven orbital class rocket. Watch this thing coming down from two different views, Jeff. You see how that thing came down, landed beautifully? Look at that. Now watch this. Now, It's important to remember that the so-called experts said landing a rocket upright couldn't be done. What else have the experts missed? Okay, so this is like, there's always going to be something. And I remember when Elon Musk was attempting to do it, and they're like, it can't be done. You're not going to be able to reuse a rocket and bring it down and land. Well, that was when you had NASA. They couldn't do it. But the private sector, Elon Musk had a bigger dream, and he gets a lot of criticism, but he was able to do it, Jeff. You know, he was able to do it. You had this news. This is Powell.
Remember how they crushed Jeff Bezos? Now, granted, he wasn't landing rockets upright, but he was building one of the biggest platforms ever known to man. And they told him selling used books online is stupid.
Yeah, well,
you're never going to succeed.
You're never going to succeed. The so-called experts got that wrong, because this is what happens when you have a startup that pivots very quickly. But I wanted to throw this up here because, you know, Powell, Fed chair, said rapid changes are taking place in the global monetary system that may affect the international role of the dollar. A U.S. central bank digital currency is being examined to help the U.S. dollar's international standing. And so Warren Davidson answered with this: when the dollar collapses, we're preparing to implement a police state that uses money as a means of control and coercion. That's what he really meant, and that's the Fed. And he says, nope, sound money serves a stable store of value and efficient means of exchange, not as a creepy surveillance system to control the population. So did he get that
on? I mean,
right? Accurate.
That's really spot on. We have to be very concerned, you know, if the central banks are rolling out these assets that they have control over. It becomes, and we've seen a lot within Congress on both sides of the aisle voicing their concern. I just don't know if all of them are voicing real concern or they're just voicing concern so that people hear it. But that's one of the biggest points is, you know, you can't track the spending, the expenditures of people. It just, you know, it's not good. And that goes even with credit cards. You can say, hey, you can go back and check it, but the only way you can get those credit card statements is through court order. You know, the central bank doesn't just automatically have access to your spending habit. They can't just say, hey, we've got everything. But now all of a sudden, you know, within the CBDC, especially after we've seen some of the ideas that have been floating around the world, where they can then put a hold on your entire existence. And that's something that we've always, you know, been cautious about. And we've voiced that concern. And fortunately, there have been some politicians, you know, saying the exact same thing. So Johnny Pays is saying, do you guys believe Elon Musk sent a Tesla into space? That's a moment I knew space was all BS. Yeah.
Well, space is not BS. I mean, space is out there, right? It's out there, but
did he send one into space? I don't know.
Yeah, don't you remember the Moon Man? I mean, I don't know about that, Jeff. I mean, quite honestly, it's hard. We're at the stage right now where maybe 2 years ago you would have been like, yeah, an opinion on that. I'm almost at this point where I'm like, I don't know what's real or not real anymore.
Exactly. I know that you're real because I met you in person. I know I'm not just talking to some AI. I know most of the people out there are real because
Chip Headroom.
Chip Headroom. Check out Jim D said, I used to launch space shuttles. The cost of reusing old boosters is high, both in time and money, and loss of payload weight due to need of carrying spare fuel to return them rather than dumping at sea.
Yeah, I also worked in the 80s on a solid rocket booster project myself, which was actually pretty fun, pretty cool. Look at this, Jeff. Check this out here. This is from TechLead. How to break the news to your family about your crypto trading losses. I'm in the process of communicating with you and fully committed to working this out. And you get a guy across the table, like, you know, like kind of trying to talk to his family. They're in some sort of a heated discussion is the graphic there. And he's fully committed to working it out. You know, it's, but TechLead is somebody else I can heavily recommend. I love the humor of this guy. And you can find him on not only, he's at TechLead HD on Twitter, but he's also, you can look up TechLead on YouTube and his podcast. And I don't know, I love his sense of humor. I like, a lot of people feel like it rubs in the wrong way, but I just love his brashness and his I don't know, I laugh a lot. So it's, I don't know if you're supposed to, but I certainly do, and find it very, very exciting. But it's there's A spin-off technology from space.
Yeah, Lewis, we got frozen or freeze-dried ice cream.
Yeah, Dippin' Dots. We had, isn't that part of one of the things we got? Dippin' Dots.
No, but that is true. There's a ton of technology that is spun off. You know what's amazing? What is the one satellite that just left the that's way out there in interstellar space now? What is that? There've only been 2 satellites that have gone to interstellar space. What is that? Heck is that satellite called? Anyhow, yeah, it amazes me that satellite was launched in like 1977, and it's still returning
Wow.
data. It's still communicating.
How can that be,
There's
Jeff?
still, how is that even possible? Technology from 77, we're all, basically had no technology, but somehow NASA had all this major technology to where they could still have a satellite communicating information backward and taking pictures. That Voyager, that's it.
Voyager. I just looked it up. I just finally found it at the same time. Voyager. That was it. Voyager is on a voyage. There he goes. Look at all these. Look at it. Everyone nailed it. There you go.
Johnny's not a big fan of space and Voyager and the moon and
Jeff, that's a whole other. That's a whole other. That's where I'm at on that. We're not going to go there, but
I know where you stand on that.
You do know where I've done a lot of research. I've been down that rabbit hole. I've gone on a lot of rabbit holes, but look at this right here. So Flare Networks, who does amazing coverage on Flare, says successful audit, launch details at the end of next week onwards. So Flare is going to launch the summary of findings. The audit did not uncover any significant flaws or defects that could impact the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of the Flare node or the network at large. A summary of the findings is provided below. So Flare set to launch on July 4th. Pretty exciting, Jeff.
Really cool, man. I'm excited about that. And unfortunately, I've got some Flare that's well, I don't know, unfortunately, but I've got some Flare that's going to be coming through Celsius. I've got Flare coming through different platforms, so it'll be interesting to see what I get. I've got some coming through Uphold, some coming through Bitrue, and some will be coming through Celsius. Hopefully, Celsius continues to move forward in a positive direction.
Yeah,
and
I hope
also,
so,
Jeff. Yeah. So don't want to miss out on that bag of goods.
We don't have time to get into this, but guys, if you subscribe go to onthecain.io and you subscribe, you will see all the stories that we post. And a lot of stories, most of the stories we don't even get to, but we always have a lot of research that we intend to get to. But we just talk about, how the show goes. Sometimes we get off on some little tangents, but here is a really well executed. Somebody put this on Thread Reader. It was a thread from Twitter, but one of the largest crypto venture capital firms, Three Arrows Capital, are becoming insolvent. Potentially 18 billion under management, could be catastrophic for crypto. Here's a timeline of what's going on and the possible. So you can see, Jeff, this is all the projects they've invited is a really well done thread.
What do you think about the top, though? As they mentioned, the meltdown within that VC, and they talked about this could be the end for crypto.
Well, no, it's not the end of crypto. It's the end of a lot of projects. But you can see, look at how crazy that thread is. But we'll post that over there on there as well, and also too, another thing to keep in mind too is we do have a merch store, Jeff, and a lot of people don't know this. But
before I get in that, I just want to throw this up. Zep seems like he's brand new here to On the Chain. Thought this would be boring. Clicked anyway. Good discussion.
Good, nice. Well, go ahead and subscribe. And here's what I want to tell everybody that's still here. If you're subscribed, go ahead and unsubscribe. Listen to what I'm telling you. Unsubscribe right now. Give it a second or two, then subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you haven't liked, unlike, and then like, okay? There's a very specific reason we want you to subscribe, unsubscribe. If you're subscribed, unsubscribe, then resubscribe. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Sounds like a lot of stuff, but there's something behind that. What is it? Here we go.
It breaks the algorithm.
It does. It resets the algorithm, and it does work. And but I wanted to throw this up real quick, Jeff, because we do have a merch store. It is onthecain.shop. And you can buy some cool on the chain gear there if you're a fan of the show. There's some of the stuff. And then this one here, Jeff, we had that giant order for this. I don't know. I forgot how many but they buy 70 or 50 or something like that. But this Ripple, the SEC Wars shirt, obviously patterned after Star Wars, but SEC Wars, Ripple Strikes Back has been one of our most popular sellers. And I eventually, when that comes to fruition and that ends, I can imagine it being a big one. SEC Wars, Ripple Strikes Back. What a cool little, and it's available in hoodies and t-shirts. And we actually have women's sizes too. A lot of people are like, women have a different shape and it's like better for them to get something cut to them. And of course we have this one here. XRP, can't be 100% sure, but I think it's magic.
That's my favorite one.
That is also a big seller too, and they come in different colors too.
I need to get a couple more of those.
Yeah, like you can get them in all different colors. It's kind of cool, whatever color you want, red, green, whatever. So it's not always necessarily what they have there. We go all the way up to 5XL. We don't discriminate here, Jeff. We have small, medium, large, XL, and all the way up to 5XL. So
red too. I didn't know he had red. Look at all those cool colors.
Yeah, purple. I mean,
I'm gonna get another one of those. Yeah, we got a cool logo on the back too. Show them the back of the shirt.
Yeah, so the back looks like this here.
I love that. I love how you get that little on the chain on the back.
So you got the on the chain, on the front, on the back.
We need to promote that shirt more. That's an awesome shirt. We don't need any other merch except for that shirt. Even though the SEC Strikes Back and some of the others are cool, that's my favorite right there.
Yeah, hoodies and sweatshirts. Let's look at the women's tees as well. There's some women's on there, so you can get it in pink, Jeff. Looks really nice in pink. You got this football jersey type on the chain, down with OTC.
Oh, sweet. Look at that. Totally need to get more, and then I'll make sure that I'm always wearing merch on the show. How about that?
We got this one here. This is the On the Chain crew, the moon mission right here. There it is right there. Established 2021, the moon mission right there. The little logo there. Right. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff up at the onthecain.shop. You can go check that out. And also you can check out onthechain.io. And that's what I recommend you guys go there and check this out and learn about that. Of course, you can see all the places you can listen to it on the regular podcast. We go to a lot of places, and
I got that cool website.
It's pretty sweet. And you can get right down here, scroll down here, put your email and your name. Don't worry, we don't sell it to anybody. We're totally against all that kind of crap too.
Yep.
And
we do have some plans in the near future. So
you can check out all the interviews we've done here, which is kind of cool. Check to see the podcast.
The ads are finished now. Robert said, "Are the ads finished now?"
Well, first of all, we hardly ever promote this. And the funny thing is, every time we do, someone buys something. So it's a lot of times people just don't know about it. It's not an ad. I mean, it's just like you guys want to support the show, cool. But if you don't, we don't really care. We don't promote it that much.
Yeah, and Chip, we'll be back tomorrow night. I want to give a quick shout out to Johnny for his support. Johnny Pays. I want to give a shout out to all of our OTC members, Jim D, and many of the others that are in here today. Jim D has been commenting a bunch, but yeah, appreciate everybody, and we'll be back tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Looking forward to that. Appreciate you, Johnny. Love listening to you guys. Great work. Thanks.
Yeah, and also big shout out to all of. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Johnny. Paez, I think it is. And also want to say, big shout out to all the supporters. Whether you support us on the website, it's our version of Patreon. We don't have a Patreon because we don't believe in that kind of centralized control. We have control 100% over our website. And one other thing that I wanted to add there, Jeff, is that something I was thinking about this morning, which is when we talk about centralization equals corruption. Bottom line, if it's centralized, it's corrupt as hell, or it certainly has a propensity to be corrupt. So decentralization is freedom. That's why crypto and blockchain will succeed. That's why smart contracts will succeed, because of the decentralized aspect of it. And if you want to know who's going to push back on there, the elites and the people in power don't like it because it takes away a lot of their power. And the first country, Jeff, will happen probably in our lifetime that will be governed by a DAO, where every person will have a true voice. We'll see how that shakes down. But big shout out to our supporters. You guys see those little icons they have, like Jim D and some other people, but that means you guys support OTC. We thank you so much for being OTC supporters as well. It really means a lot to us, whether you support us on the via or you support us via YouTube.
Right here on YouTube.
Checks and balances.
Checks and balances, exactly. 100%.
Alchemist also, and we also appreciate your comments. We always can't get to all of them, but guys, it's always great to see that other conversation happening inside the chat. It's almost like a little sub show. We love that too. So it's all we have, but a big shout out to everybody. You come in here, you support us, you like us, you subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe, all that. Really appreciate you guys. Can't do this in a vacuum. We need you. We need to love your support. And one other thing that I wanted to show Jeff, and if I can just really show this really quick, but I wanted to show this here because we don't really talk about our podcast. We have an audio version of the podcast. You can see the top location, and I wanted to show this. The United States is 47%. That means we have more viewers, listeners, and supporters outside of the U.S., which also means a lot to Jeff and I. So
that's really cool.
On the
Love our
podcast,
global audience.
yeah, we have a global audience. And on the podcast, you can see that Ireland is number 2 with 21%, Jeff. That's a big portion of that.
That's Darcy.
That's Darcy. Canada, 8%.
All one.
Then we go to the UK, 6%. Singapore, 6%. Australia, a lot of support. And again, remember, guys, this is only the audio podcast. This is not it's a different metrics. We'll have to pull that up sometime. Just thought we'd share that. It's kind of interesting. And obviously, Jeff, this is the most important one right here, because when we look at who listens to, what are the top clients, who listens to it? Well, Apple Podcast owns that stat with 70% of you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, followed by a large 8% of unknown. We don't know where that's coming from. Spotify at 4%, Pocket Cast at 2%, Podbean at 2%, Google Podcasts at 2%, Jeff.
Sweet.
Not
awesome.
good. So there you go.
Well, that's it. We'll be back tomorrow night. I got to run to tennis. There's Darcy. He's been watching this whole time. Darcy, thanks for your support over there in Ireland. He's in Galway. So anyhow, appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. And Chip.
See you on the next one. Chip and Jeff. Oh, see you guys.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.